to another episode of Patriots 4th and 2. Derek Haven, Steve Ballester here as your host, as always, both from PatsFans.com. I want to appreciate everyone for tuning in live or listening later. Please do take a second to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, as well as Apple Podcasts. If you like, share, leave us a review. It keeps us high in the podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. We have a lot to talk about today. Exciting episode. Before we kick it off, I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody who's listening. Hope everyone had a great holiday season, and we are sorry for recording this on Thursday, not Wednesday, not our usual day, but, we're trying to be amenable to the holiday season, so we're trying to make it work. Steve and I think ate, what do you think, Steve? 2-3 pounds of prime rib yesterday apiece?
Yeah,
So,
easily I ate that much.
So now we're just going ahead, and we just woke up from our food coma, and we're doing this now. So anyway, hope everyone had a great holiday season. Before we do anything, Steve, what's up, man?
What a day. And again, just to reiterate what you said, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. We wish everyone had a very happy and safe holiday.
Yep.
Shout outs to our compadres, Ian Logue and Russ Goldman. And all of our listeners and readers out there. I know we have a lot. So, we hope everyone is doing well and had a great day. And like Derek said, we had prime rib. Both of us had it. And I'm just waking up from a meat coma.
Yeah, it wasn't planned, by the way. We were talking on the phone this morning, and I was like, oh, we had prime rib. He's like, oh, we did too. So, but that was funny. But hey, what wasn't funny was how the Patriots played the other day, Steve. Really frustrating. I was annoyed because they came out so strong. They came out looking decisive, had a plan, and then they just kind of, what's the term? It's like water always finds its level. You know what I mean? And
the wheels came off.
And the wheels came off for the Patriots game there too. It's like, did they have one of their best halves of the entire season? Or forget the half, I guess even the first quarter. But I mean, the first half, they doubled up the Bills on time of possession. They were controlling the game. It felt like they were dictating things. We made a joke about it, but we thought the Bills might be a little fatigued from scoring so many points the last 2 weeks. They kind of came out a little bit more flat than I mean, your score was much wider than my score as a prediction. But I didn't expect them to come out that flat. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it was just kind of like the Bills were just like, you know what? All right, we're up now. We're tired of playing these games. Now we're just going to go ahead and take care of business. And it was frustrating, because the Patriots fell into a lot of the same holes they've been falling into.
Yeah. The big things to me were the way that, the way they came out. This is what I was expecting a week ago. Right. When they were coming off the bye, they were in Arizona. I thought they were going to come out like that and then make the game very interesting. But I think, like you said, I think after so many big games in a row, the Bills were just lighting it up. I think they had a little bit of a letdown. They were coming home. And I honestly don't think they took the Patriots serious enough. I think they just figured they could sleepwalk their way through this one.
Mm-hmm.
And, the way the Patriots came out, especially in that first quarter, I mean, as I wrote in my post-game stuff, I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, who the heck are these guys? Because we haven't seen these guys all year.
Right.
I mean, that was by far, I thought, their best half of football all year. I mean, when you're facing Josh Allen and that offense, you hold them to 7 points in that first half. I think he only threw for maybe 80-something yards. I'd have to double check. But, he didn't throw well for the whole game. I thought they did a fantastic job against him. Um, they held him to only 150 yards and 17 points, which I thought was fantastic. I mean, when you hold your opponent, regardless of who it is, 17 points on the road, you should win that game. Um, Now, that being said, the run defense, and we'll get into all this, but I thought the run defense again let them down. I thought the offense, they started off like a house on fire, but then there was like the middle of the game, there was 30 to 35 minutes where they weren't able to do anything, and they had that one really bad interception, but they weren't
Mhm.
able to put any points on the board, and it ultimately cost them. But the big thing was, I thought the coaching staff threw in the towel a little early.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would also say too, like I kind of want to put this out there now, and then we can have a conversation about it. But like, I thought Drake played a really good game to start.
Mhm.
Um, I thought he looked dialed in. It didn't look like we all knew it was a big game. It's not like the Patriots were going to like make or break the playoffs from this game,
No,
but we all knew it was going to be a division rival on the road, tough environment. Orchard Park's not a fun place to play. Cold weather, okay? And I thought Drake came up and showed up. And then unfortunately, I felt like he and the rest of the team, I'm not saying that it was on him per se, but I think he and the rest of the team kind of unraveled. And unfortunately, he threw another interception. And look, I look, you and I both have talked about Drake May for literally over a year now. Um, we, we're happy about him. He's had a good rookie season. These turnovers can't keep happening. Like, I'm not worried about it the last 2 weeks of the year, but when we get into year two, the turnovers are going to become a topic of conversation because you can't be 7 straight games with an interception, which is what Drake is right now. Like that just can't happen. So, but I do give him credit for coming in, and he doesn't really let a lot of things phase him. He's very kind of calm and cool and collected, and um, he has some personality, but he's not like super like vibrant, I guess. And but like maybe that's like kind of what makes him special. Is he's just so kind of just even keeled.
yeah, I agree with that, and he does have a short memory. He doesn't get too high or too low.
Yep.
Um, I thought, you know, and you brought this up the other day when we were talking on the phone. I believe it was right after the game when the Patriots scored that second touchdown, and it was 14-0. You could hear a pin drop, and that doesn't happen very often in Buffalo.
No, and I'll tell you, I forget. Was it CBS that did the broadcast?
Hmm.
Yeah, the audio, I can't sometimes it's hard to tell if it's like the camera or the microphones or whatever, or if it's actually the stadium. It sounded like you could literally just hear nothing. Like it was just that first they were not only were they were pissed when the Patriots scored 7-0. When they went 14-0, you could literally not hear a sound. There was not a noise in that stadium, which was insane.
Yeah, I think that the fans thought, hey, you know what? Uh, they took them too lightly, and now they're in a rock fight. Because regardless of the opponent, when you're down 10-0 is one thing, 14-0 is different. And I thought that the Bills responded in a typical Buffalo fashion. They scored that long touchdown run by James Cook, and again, the run defense gave that up, and there was breakdowns in a couple of different spots. You know, but uh, even still, Patriots after that touchdown, I started to worry. Okay, are they just going to collapse right here? But they didn't. They went into halftime. up 14-7. I thought they were playing extremely well. And then, all the issues started. The wheels came off, and all of those problems, a lot of it's unforced errors. I mean, you're talking about fumbles, poor play design / fumble for a touchdown. The interception by Drake May. I don't know if his arm was hit, but that ball was really short in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a terrible throw if he wasn't hit. It's just and then all of a sudden in that third quarter, we're like, okay, yeah, they're back to who they are. As you said, water seeks its own level.
So I guess, look, we expected the game to kind of, maybe not the exact score, but we expected the outcome. Okay, so
it wasn't,
it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. At the same time, I do want to go ahead and make him note that I felt like they were able to be competitive at times, but I think the thing that's most troubling to me, Steve, honestly, is that it's literally Groundhog Day. Like it's the same mistakes, the same issues that are plaguing this team. Like this is not. It's not like they're just bad. And there's a lot of players that are not good on that team. I understand it, but I'm talking about dumb penalties, turnovers, like even like fundamental tackling, like just basic BS. Okay, and and they just cannot seem to fix it. And I can't tell. This is going to sound really mean to say, but I can't tell if they're so bad that they are like inept, or if the coaching is just not getting there. Now we're 4, 5, 6 months into the seasons, in terms of OTAs, training camp, through the weeks. It's like, can they fix it? Is it the coaching staff? Is it the players? Like, what do you think? Like who this is on? Because at this point, it's like one of those things where it's like, guys, this has been going on for long enough now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same mistakes. Okay. Time and time again. And, I'm going to go to the head coach, right? 8.5 minutes to go. You're only down by 10. There's still time. I'm not saying I expected them to score 2 touchdowns and go ahead and win. But at the same time, they played well enough offensively where you could think that it was at least possible for them to score 10 points. And the last thing the Bills wanted to do was play an overtime game, So, you're at the opponent's 46-yard line, 8.5 minutes to go, fourth and what was it, 2 or 3? I'm like, you have to go for it. The game's not over. Every other team in the league would have went for that. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand the whole punting thing. And I thought it waved the white flag far too early in this one. And, then Buffalo eats up 4 minutes of clock. They punt it away. Patriots go down. Takes them like 3.5 minutes.
Steve, how do you go for a fake punt on your own 23 and then go ahead and punt it away with 8.5 to go?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make any sense to me.
It makes no sense. It's a joke. It's honestly a joke. Like I'm not expecting. Look, anyone who's expecting Gerard Mayo to go ahead and make perfect decisions every single time, it's his first year being a head coach. Okay, I can sit back and I can let some of that stuff go. This is a consistent pattern. It's like almost like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, Steve. I mean, like, what are we talking about with that?
Well, and I think 68,000, whatever the Bill Stadium holds.
Yep,
excuse me.
70. Yep.
Yeah, 70,000, whatever it holds. I think 70,000 people expected the Patriots to go for it there. I mean, I think it was kind of a shock that they didn't, because I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, they have to go for it here. And, this is basically it because you're going to live and die by this next play. And I don't get it. I mean, you're 3-11 at that point. So what's the harm in going for it?
There is
it's
no
not
harm.
like it's going
It
to.
makes it, and again, it makes literally no sense. Like there's, like you could turn it every which direction you want. It doesn't make any sense. And look, I wouldn't have done the fake punt. I didn't hate it because I feel like it's one of those things where you're like, say you're at the casino, you're playing with house money. Okay, it's like, okay, you're playing with house money. You want to go for it and risk it. You're underdogs. You're 2-score underdogs. No, you're not making the playoffs. It's not going to hurt you one way or the other. You want to go for it, go ahead. But then don't turn around and do that with friggin' 8.5 minutes to go. It was literally almost like contradicting itself. I'm like, what are we even talking about?
I know. It was just so strange. Unless, he's tanking for a better draft pick. And
yeah, he's not.
Yeah, because he's made it clear that they want to, win a couple of games down the stretch to have something to build upon. And
well, the good news is by losing last week, they have a chance to win Week 18 because the Bills might just bench all their players and rest them for the playoffs. So
because now Kansas City has clinched the number 1
exactly.
seed. Well, at a minimum, I think the Bills will rest their players after halftime.
I agree. I think that will be the way it goes. We do have to talk about the Chargers game. I do think the Patriots have a chance to win this game, and that will be because I think the Chargers are kind of more of an old school kind of muck it up football team, and I think the Patriots have a chance because it's not going to be super high scoring to go ahead and do that. So we'll circle back to that here in just a little bit. But before we get to that game, anything from the Bills game that we haven't touched on that you wanted to mention?
Well, I thought, again, I thought the players played pretty well, except for that. I mean, that sequence right there in the third
run
quarter.
defense is still an issue, though.
Run defense, yeah.
Oh,
and we can talk about that real quick because that really cost them the game. I mean, think about it. They did it. I thought the secondary played a fantastic game against Josh Allen and the Bills. I think they did a great job of disguising their coverages.
It was the best. It was the best half. It was the best half the Patriots have played defensively all season. I thought, considering the opponent, like weighing the opponent versus like what you have to do on the road, tough environment. I thought they played lights out, and then it seemed like that big James Cook run broke out, and then the game was friggin' over.
Yeah, I looked at the secondary all game. I mean, they only threw for 154 yards. So,
without Marcus Jones too.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really good job of disguising their coverages because I noticed more than a couple of times that Josh Allen hesitated just a quarter of a second because they were showing things that he didn't expect from the pre-snap reads. Jonathan Jones, great game. Christian Gonzalez, great game. Gonzalez didn't allow a pass in his direction.
Is he going to be all-pro this year? I think he has a chance. I think he has a legitimate chance to be all-pro this year. It's going to be close.
Yeah. I thought Jonathan Jones played his best game in all this year.
I know I can tell you with certainty, and I know we can talk about this offline, but I can tell you with certainty that he had a little bit of a injury issue that was bothering him. They're also kind of stretching him thin because of the way the defense is right now. But he was dealing with an issue. I think he's better now, but it took him a while. So
yeah, I thought he played a fantastic game. When he was in coverage on Shakir, who's the Bills' go-to guy, he only allowed 2 catches, I think, for 12 yards. I mean, that's fantastic.
I still can't believe the Patriots didn't draft Khalil Shakir. I literally can't. I remember him coming out of Boise State, and I'm like, this is a Patriot. And then he went to the Bills, and I was like, what the hell? So, it still makes me upset, like 3 years later.
Yeah, but and even now the linebackers I thought shared in the the run game woes that continue, but I
Mhm.
thought they did a much better job in coverage this week, and that's something that again I thought the players played well for the whole game. They had that one. It was like a 6-minute sequence where all the wheels fell off again.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I mean,
Well, it was either turnovers, penalties, a couple of mind slips. Like there was a couple issues like here and there.
yeah,
Overall, it wasn't a bad game. They didn't play a bad game. And if and as we said offline the other day, if we had gone into the game and said the Patriots are going to lose by 3, we take it. We'd be like, all right. All right. You had what, 51-17 last
yeah.
week? I mean, you were
I thought
expecting
they were
40.
going to roll all over them. But again, real quick, I mean, if again, if we were talking offline and you said if you had told me they were going to lose by 3, and I expounded on that. If you told me they were going to hold Josh Allen and the offense to 17 points and
Mhm.
154 yards in the game,
Yep.
I would have thought one of two things. Either it was a hurricane situation like a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
where the wind was blowing like 70 miles an hour on the field, or you were smoking something really good and I wanted some of that.
All right. With that, we will step aside real quick for podcast purposes. And when we get back, we will talk about the Patriots' upcoming game against the Chargers. All right. We are back here on Patriots 4th and 2. Steve Balichieri, Derek Havens here. Steve, we talked about the Bills game. I mean, we could unpack that for another 20 minutes, but what's the point? So, so let's get into the Chargers game. I do think this is going to be a good opportunity for the Patriots to win a game. I've kind of gone back and forth about how it will unfold. I do think the Chargers under Harbaugh have done a really good job being old school fundamentals, doing a lot of the little things well. He kind of likes to build things piece by piece, brick by brick, and it's proven him right in the past overall. And now you have the Chargers, a tough team. Maybe not the weapons you've seen offensively the last couple of years, but they seem to be working better. Herbert's kind of coming into his own. Defensively, I think is where they make their strong suit. I think it's going to be a really tough test for Drake May this week, Steve. What are your thoughts on the Chargers, initially?
Yeah, and honestly, I think Harbaugh should be given big time consideration for
For Coach of
NFL.
the Year? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
I mean
agree.
think about it. They lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and
Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler
Yeah.
this year. And when I had seen that in the offseason, I was thinking to myself, "Whoa, they're stripping the offense down to the studs. This team is going to struggle." And they haven't. They've played really well this year, and much better than I envisioned. First year for Harbaugh,
Well, I
and I
think they've
think
also been like not even the games they haven't won though, Steve. I think the impressive thing about them is that they seem to give everybody at least a test. Like they might not win them all, but they will go ahead and give issues to each team. So I don't expect if the Patriots come in here with the same lazy bullshit. Sorry, Miguel. if the Patriots come in here with the same BS they've been doing the last couple of weeks, that they're going to get their ass kicked.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not in the position to take anybody lightly, especially a team that's fighting for a playoffs position here. So, I think the Chargers are going to come in loaded for bear, and I think the Patriots need to do the same. They have their final 2 games at home. I think they have to pull out all the stops. There's no reason not to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Throw the kitchen sink at them. I mean, you're 3-12. You're in the midst of a very disappointing season because I thought they were going to win more games than this. So throw out the kitchen sink at them. Make
Mm-hmm.
them earn this one. Don't just sit there and vanilla your way through the final 2 games of the season. You know, pull out all the stops. You
You have
know,
nothing to lose. I mean,
yeah,
at this point, I want to see. I want to go in with the traditional game plan because I want to see how Drake May handles a good defense. Kind of going, against that. I think it will be a good chess match for him. These are all, valuable reps, so that's all great. But at the same time, you're at home, and I think it would do a lot for. Man, I would hate for the season to end and have Gerard just go out on this big losing streak and for the team to lose the way they have. I just think it would be a really bad taste in their mouth. I feel like they need a good win to give them some kind of levity, here towards the downstretch. Do you understand what I'm saying by that? Like
yeah,
do you think that that's important? Because I just if they lose out the last 2 games, they've lost the last couple. It's like, man, I just feel like this is gonna have a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
yeah. I mean, they need to have something, you know, on the slate when they
Mhm.
go into the offseason saying, hey, you know what? We closed on an uptick, you know. Maybe win one of these last 2 games and the other one be a tight, you know.
But Steve,
Uh,
even if they were to win this game, it was a solid good game, and they win it by a score. And then next week, Buffalo does bench half their players, on the second half, like you mentioned, you know. And yeah, so the Patriots stole a couple of cheap wins down the stretch. At least you go into year 2 of the Mayo era and you feel, if you're a player, at least like you went out on some kind of a high note, even though you kind of know it's a false victory. I do think that's important. And yeah, before anybody asks, yes, Mayo's coming back for a second year. Like, it's going to happen. So we can stop talking about it now.
well, and again, I mean, if they win this week, it will not be a cheap victory because
Hmm.
the Chargers are still fighting for position. So,
Yep.
um, I don't think that would be now. If Buffalo decides to rest everybody in the second half next week, or even sit some of their guys who are banged up, hey, you have to play with the guys that you have on board. And when the Patriots was so shorthanded early in the season, I didn't see anybody making excuses for them. So, you know, you gotta play it out. But I want to see him play it out hard and smart, and they haven't been too smart this year. But you know, play hard, play all 60 minutes, and you know, let the chips fall where they may. But if you lose because your players are inferior to the other team, you can kind of live with that because it is what it is.
Hmm.
But if you lose because you're making the same mistakes and self-inflicted wounds, that's a bad way to go into the offseason.
Oh, yeah, totally agree. Let's get into the Chargers game a little bit more. I guess initial thoughts on the Chargers, Steve. When you're analyzing this team in this matchup, what what are you most concerned about from a Patriot standpoint?
Well, I think at this point of the season, you have to be concerned with the running game because regardless of who's running the football at you, whether they're good, bad, indifferent, they're just getting hammered out there. They're getting chewed up, and if you want to stay in this game, you have to take that away first. In my opinion, you have to take the running game away, or at least slow it down to where they're not absolutely gashing you for 46, 48-yard touchdowns.
I think, to me, the running game scares me because not only is that Harbaugh's kind of like bread and butter, that's the way they've kind of built their team, and it's also something that we've seen the Patriots be, I guess, just really struggle with over the course of the year. Like, on balance, we're not talking about one game; we're talking about as a whole. And as much as I want to say, hey, the Patriots have a chance to win this game, they could kind of muck it up, whatever. Well, the Patriots have gotten their ass kicked in the ground game, and if that
Yeah.
happens, it's going to be, not only is it going to be it's going to be like one of those like death by a thousand paper cut kind of losses, because it's going to be like 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards,
Yeah.
all the way through the game. So to me, the running game is definitely the thing that I'm worried about the most. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and the other thing is the Patriots' offensive line, which has been
Mm.
bad all year. Um, it's like you have to protect the quarterback, and you have to open up some holes for the running backs. I think the running backs have played better than their stats would suggest because they're constantly getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. And they're making yards after contact. It would be nice if the contact was 3 or 4 yards downfield, for a change. And occasionally they do show some flashes in the running game, you know, but it's not consistent enough, and they have to do a better job of protecting Drake May because again, he's constantly having to scramble to make plays with his feet. It would, I watched the one thing I noticed about the Ravens game last night is, well, everyone is making a big thing, and rightfully so, about Lamar Jackson. Boy, he sits back there flat-footed for 5 and 6 seconds. It's like, my goodness,
Right. And I think for Drake though too, I have noticed one of the bigger criticisms I'd have of him, and he's done a lot of great things, but I think some of the issues though too is one of the things I've been okay. Let me start over. I'll preface what I'm saying with this. I have been relatively impressed. Well, actually, really impressed with how bad the offensive line has been with his ability to go ahead and stay relatively calm in the pocket. He doesn't get the Peyton Manning happy feet. What I have noticed though, there have been times, and this is going to be, for one, he's a gamer, he's a competitor. He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to take some of these things. But the problem is that when it goes like over a longer period of time, he is speeding himself up. I can see him. It's not even the opponent doing it; it's himself. You can watch it happen. You saw it on the interception. In this last game, he's like kind of working himself up a little bit, and I think it's because he just wants to make a play. So that to me is a little interesting. I do think though with time that will get better, but it's an issue. I'm sure the Chargers are going to throw a lot at him, so that'll be interesting. I guess, do we want to get into three keys? Is it too early for that, or do we want to get into matchups? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we can get into the three keys now.
All right, let's do it. You want to go first?
Yeah, and like I think we both agreed on the number one thing is stopping the run,
Mm-hmm.
at least slowing the run, because they can't go into this game getting gashed again because that's going to end up on the wrong score. I think they have to do a much better job in the running game. Not saying stop it completely because we don't expect that, but at least not make it to the point where everything is 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, because that's a recipe for long time consuming drives. I think the second key is the Patriots offensive line. They have to open up holes for their running backs. They have to do a better job of protecting Drake May. We know the Patriots wide receivers don't strike fear in many people, any people for that matter. But at the same time, if you give your quarterback time to survey the field, somebody eventually is going to get open.
Yep.
And my third key, again, I'm going to go back to the defense, and that is they have to get or manufacture, whatever you want to call it, some pressure on Herbert. If you give him time to sit back there all day
He'll pick
and
you
throw,
apart.
he'll pick you apart. So those are my three keys for the game on Saturday. Excuse me.
Well, I thought the Patriots did a better job on third down this week compared to Arizona. I'd like to. I'd like to. I think one of my biggest keys for me is going to be. Look, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag them out kind of game. That's kind of how I'm envisioning it. I'm not sure what the over under is. Maybe I can look that up while I'm doing these things. But I think for me, sustaining the drives are going to be incredibly important. And I think for the Patriots, it's so. I think one of the most frustrating things, Steve, for me is that if they have an issue on first down, it could be 1st and 10, there's a holding call. 1st and 10, there's a run for no gain, 1 yard. It's like you're almost like shooting yourself in the foot, like instantly. And you can almost feel the lack of confidence on the players through the TV screen. Like you're just like, well, this one's over. Might as well just punt now. So to me, I want to see sustained drives, third downs. I think are going to be really key in this game. The second one to me is I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's me the running game. I think for both teams, but specifically defensively, they have to go ahead and contain that running game. I don't want to make Herbert throw 40, 50 times throughout the game, but if you're going to let them go ahead and just matriculate the clock down and kind of move the ball up and down the field, you're going to be in trouble. So to me, that's the second biggest thing. And then the third biggest thing for me, honestly, and this is not even about the Chargers, this is about the Patriots. They need to be fundamentally better everywhere. I want them. I just think just with their tackling, their discipline, gap schemes, anything you want. I just want to go ahead and make sure that they are tight because I feel like they have gotten really kind of cavalier with some of those issues, and it's haunted them in the last few games.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. I mean, again, this is wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, we talk about these things every week. And, for the vast majority of the season, they haven't been doing these things. So, it's something that, they really need to work on. And, by this point in the season, they know where their weaknesses are. They know where their strengths are. And you just have to play to your strengths at this point. And I know they try to do that. It's difficult because they have so many holes everywhere. But, find something that worked. I thought last week the secondary looked the best it has all season, against that Bills team. So if you can recreate some of that this week, that's a big positive. Offensively, if you can get Kayshon Boutte, like he had a great game last week, you get him on the same page and maybe get Demario Douglas more involved production-wise in the football game, at the same time, then you're starting to cook a little bit. I think it's all those things. And, it's always one or the other. Boutte has a great game and Douglas didn't have great numbers last week. I think that last week the tight ends were very good as they have been all year. And that's something that's a positive moving into next year. And, obviously they're going to continue to work the tight ends because they're very consistent. So you just want to see some progress at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Let's get into predictions, Steve. What do you got?
I think the Chargers are a little more hungrier at this point. I think the Patriots are going to make it a game. I think 27-21.
I'm going to go Patriots, actually. I'm going to go 23-16. I think that there's going to be a lot of kind of old school running the ball, kind of mucking it up a little bit, field goals. I do think one of the keys I didn't mention, but I do think the red zone is going to be critical because I don't see this. I would be really surprised. I was going to look up that spread and the over under on DraftKings. I'll look that up now. But I do think I would be surprised if this was like a multiple touchdown game for both teams. I just don't see that really happening unless there's some really bad defense. But that's just me. So I think 23-16 Patriots. I think they go ahead and get it done. I think the ground game. I think Stevenson has a really big game, kind of a bounce back after a couple fumbles, and I think Drake May will, kind of get into it. And I think he's going to have a good day too.
I hope so. I like your prediction better than mine.
So right now the over-under is 42.5. I think that makes a lot of sense. I just said, 23-16, that's 39. So, right around there. I could see that totally happening. Right now the Patriots are actually 4-point underdogs. So I guess we'll see. But
yeah, and my total was 47. So we're not.
Yeah, so you kind of split the baby. That's fine.
We're not that far off what they predicted. So.
All right, Steve. Final thoughts, my man. What do you got?
Well, I just think I just wanted to say something about the games yesterday. The NFL has no business playing on Christmas. It's not Thanksgiving.
It's done.
It's not. And I just get tired of them trying to reach in fans' pockets every time they turn around. I have a Netflix subscription, so it didn't bother me, but for those fans who don't, okay, then they have to pay extra to watch those games. And it's ridiculous. I mean, the games, as it is, they do Thursday, they do Monday. Well, they've done Monday for over 50 years now. And I get that. I still hate the Thursday games.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Thursday games, that's part of the tradition of Thanksgiving in the United States.
Well, like you and I talked about this morning on the phone, though, Steve. Like on Thanksgiving, it's like you have 3 games on. They play throughout the day. So you get the first game. It's background noise. It's like, hey, you know what? When we're prepping the kitchen. And, when we're getting cooking stuff done, it's in the background. People are eating, it's kind of in the background. Then everyone has their tryptophan nap, and the game's on in the background. I had literally zero interest in any football games yesterday. I was busy with my wife, my daughter, my family. I had no interest in watching games. Like if it was on, would it be on? Okay, but I didn't even care to put it on. It makes no sense. And the problem is that it goes back to the Mark Cuban quote from like 15 years ago, where he's talking about the NFL and he says, "Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered," and the NFL just wants to go ahead and move into every single holiday. It's like the only thing on Christmas that used to be was basketball games. And they'd force like Celtics Knicks down our throat. But and I love the Celtics, but it's like having a Thursday night football game with the NFC East playing. You're just like, oh yeah, hey, you're Giants Cowboys, what a blast. But to me, I just feel like I think they're just getting too greedy with that stuff. Obviously we've talked about the primetime, the games, the streaming services, all this stuff. But to me, it had no business being on yesterday. I thought it was, hopefully it was a flop from a ratings perspective.
Well, I heard it wasn't, but I haven't seen the final numbers.
Yeah.
I do give Netflix some credit after the fiasco with the Mike Tyson fight. In all their streaming problems, I didn't see or hear of anybody having those.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
And the crews that they had there, I mean, they're trying to pump up games that were blowouts, and I get, that's their job, but I thought they did a good job of that. And I loved Andy Reid coming out in Santa suit after the game. I thought that was classic.
He's gotten really funny. I'll give him that. He's a funny guy.
I didn't know anything about Andy before. Maybe he always has been, but I think right now he's in a really good spot where he feels very comfortable with his team.
I mean, he's the best coach in the league, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I mean,
and they don't shoot themselves in the foot.
No, I mean, again, look if you look at the top of the draft order right now, the top 3 teams picking. So worst record, okay, Patriots, no order. Patriots, Raiders, Giants. Steve, there's 4 teams that haven't scored 30 points this year. Do you know who the 4th team is?
Well, I would say New England, the Giants, the
Yep, and the
Raiders,
Raiders, and who else?
and the Chiefs.
Yep. They're the only team besides literally the worst three teams in the league and the best team in the league. Only team that hasn't scored 30 points. And I think that honestly, a lot of people have been talking about the Chiefs, and look, I get it. It's hard to see the same team win again and again and again. I think the league should be terrified if the Chiefs aren't scoring 30 points and they're 13-1. They're winning in all these different ways. Right now it's defense. Right now it's all they don't need to score 43 points. This isn't the offense that they were, fighting against Buffalo, where they scored 13 seconds. Like this is a very different thing. And everybody looks very comfortable. I don't know if they're going to, win it all, but man, they're just dialed in right now. So
Yeah, and
you can see it.
I love that, the Andy Reid Santa thing, and the reaction on the players was priceless.
Yeah, that was funny.
And the puffy Santa coats that they gave the players of the game. In the first one, it was Mahomes and Kelsey, and then Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I thought those were classic.
Oh,
but I hate the Christmas games. I'm going right out and say that. And I don't know. Perhaps because I'll probably get killed for this. I'm not a Beyonce fan. I just didn't think that was all that in a bag of chips.
I didn't see it, so I can't really speak on it. Obviously, she's very popular, but I have no idea. I didn't see literally a second of it. So, but it is what it is. Anyways, all right. So, Steve, next week we have obviously going into the Bills game, and then we're going to have a little Patriots autopsy shortly after the season's over, so we can really dive into how we can fix this. We will try. I want to thank everyone who's listening again to this episode of Patriots 4th and 2. I think Steve and I both try to have the show on Wednesdays around noon Eastern is always our goal. This week with Christmas, a little bit different, a little more difficult. So we're just trying to go ahead and navigate those waters here. Steve, before we wrap up, any final thoughts?
Nope. My final rant was there on Christmas games.
There you go. I guess my only final thought is that I just want to see the Patriots come out and hopefully build on last week. I've been really happy with how I've seen Drake May, not only, at the podium, on the field, in the huddle, on the sidelines. I really think that's the best point that you can take away as a Patriots fan from the season, is that you're seeing progressions. You're seeing him get better. You've seen him get better throughout the season. And, there's issues to clean up, but I do think that's an exciting part. The last thing I want to mention is go vote for Christian Gonzalez to go to the Pro Bowl, because he deserves it, and I'm hoping he's going to get all pro this year. For Steve Balistrieri, Derek Havens, thank you again for everyone who's listening to this episode on Patriots 4th and 2. Please subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like, share, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. It keeps us high in the podcast ranking so other Patriots fans can find us. Want to give a shout out to Russ Goldman and Ian Logue. And also, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you have a great, fun, safe holiday season, and we will talk to you later.